in focus. All right, this is proving just about impossible to get through. I think I'm just going to get through this in this one last take, no matter what happens. Click the links to join channel, become a valued member, or support channel on Coffee, subscribe to the various other links, or join the Discord, Telegram, the Odyssey, and the Bit Chute, where there's, those are kind of free speech platforms, so don't go over there expecting like the YouTube normie stuff. It's not for normies, especially Discord. Assuming you pass the vigorous background checks, you might need to show feet pictures. So never go full developmentally disabled. So this actor, who you've probably never heard of, unless you're really into Hollywood, is triggered because she is fair countenance, and keep in mind that we're talking about a movie that's based on a book where the protagonist is a European male, and she's half English, half Nigerian, I think. So she's upset that she's took Hollywood cast in a role from that a darker person should go in, not a fair person, but the original role, the artistic vision of the original author was of a European male. So she's not offended that it's like they sex swapped her and race swapped her, or at least half race swapped her. She's not offended by that. She's offended that it didn't go to a full African woman, which would maybe focus on the original vision of the artists instead of just swapping everything. You can swap things as much as you want. It doesn't mean people are going to go support whatever movie you're putting out there. Keep in mind, the same Hollywood that is lecturing us on on morals and ethics, and they're the same Hollywood that supported Roman Polanski, Epstein, Weinstein, Woody Allen, all these filthy degenerates. That's the same Hollywood that thinks they have the right to lecture. That's Sarah Silverman. That's Stephen Fisher, who was in Short Circuit 1 and 2. He's not Indian. He's a not Indian person, Fisher, who put on makeup to play the role. Probably did a fair job. This is Goldstein, who also put on makeup to play the role, and she did a great job in it. But it's, you go to Spain or Portugal, there's no shortage of Latina actors to play a role. You didn't need to just go down the street in Hollywood, pick Goldstein, and hey, we're gonna put you in some makeup. It's like, why not just get an authentic? You go to Mexico. There's plenty of Mexican actors who would like the role. And this is Jimmy Kimmel, of course, who has repeatedly put on dark makeup to play African roles for comedic effect. Weird how they just never get called. And this is all recent. This isn't from 1920. This is recent. Sarah Silverman's only 50 years old. Jimmy Kimmel's only 50. This is this was in that was a while ago, but. These aren't. We're not talking 100 years ago. Like Jimmy Kimmel did this stuff a few years ago, and it was a-okay for them to do that. It's like it's different rules for different people. This is why I posted that Animal Farm picture last night. So keep in mind, replacing European characters is a-okay. It doesn't even make sense what she's arguing about. She's arguing that the role should have gone to a real African woman or 100% African woman. But it's like the role was written for probably an Englishman in mind, English male, and it's like none of her moral, authority, kowtowing. None of it makes sense because you're arguing from a position of mental illness. Anyway, so Hollywood, what is Hollywood supposed to do if they start having a paper bag test where you have to be darker than a certain thing to take a role? If they start picking darker over fair, well, what happens to all the fair countenanced actors who want to act? According to their logic, they simply are not welcome in Hollywood. So, really, what are they supposed to do? And they moral cigarette us all the time, but they never actually get to the second point of saying, okay, well, what are they supposed to do? Are they welcome in the industry at all? Are they allowed in part-time? Should they, work at any other industry part-time? It's like, well, but anytime you go in an industry, this is why you have to gatekeep SJWs. If you go in an industry, you create something, you're successful at it, immediately you get these groups of people, these SJWs, who will come in and say, oh, you need to have more representation. But you're just going to kick me out of the thing I started. Why would I? This is why you have to gatekeep SJWs. Anyway, so should they start a fair countenanced acting company? I'm sure that would go over well, but, it's kind of on the horizon. I'm just, I'm saying thanks, world thinking. I'm just throwing that out there. So they can write shows, direct, produce shows specifically for people who are not going to get hired in Hollywood because they're too fair-skinned. Is that what you want to have happen? A lot of people like to act. They really like the craft, the art and craft of acting. They want to act. So Hollywood is saying you're not welcome because you're, the wrong heritage, the wrong skin color for Hollywood. So like, where are they supposed to go? Can they start their own Shakespearean company? I don't know how well that would go over, but they never really discuss like the options for these people. They pretty much have to start their own theater company. Like, what else are they supposed to do? They never ask these actual hard questions and get a response. It's just like they just wring their hands and lecture, and it's like, so, okay, you replaced a fair actor, an English actor, with a Nigerian actor. So what happens to the English actor? Oh, well, he's just go start his own thing. But if he does, you'll just go follow him and insist on replacing him wherever he goes. Eventually, you have to put your foot down and saying, yeah, we're tired of getting replaced. Like, where are we supposed to go? Oh, you're just not supposed to exist in this genre at all, which eventually migrates to you're just not supposed to exist at all. The early stages of Hollywood deletion. Anyway, so this is almost impossible to make for YouTube. I mean, I'm saying is if they keep migrating in different industries, that same logic applies. If you believe in SJW logic, cultural Marxism, cultural Bolshevism, which is why you just have to reject it all out of hand. All the things they use, all this istophobic words, just understand, like, whenever they start using these words, like, those are Bolshevik power and control terms used to manipulate people. They're not real terms. They're Marxism. Anyway, are they supposed to be homeless? Is that what you want for these people? Honestly, yes, that is what they want for these people. So are film companies or companies in general, are they supposed to have like exactly representation of the area you're in? Say 9% Irish, 6% Swedish, 17% German. Should the industry follow the country's, the area's demographics precisely? She's 50% Nigerian, 50% English. So, I mean, you're going to have a DNA test. She can only, the character wasn't written for her anyway. It was written for, I think, an English, probably an Englishman the guy had in mind, or at least a European man. So she's not supposed to be playing the role in the first place. Is that what you're looking for? Like, yeah, we're going to need to do blood tests to, because if you're talking about demographics and you start looking at TV commercials, you're going to find a massive overrepresentation of African people in those commercials. Are you saying you want to fire them and hire more English and Germans to accurately represent the demographics of America, which I think is the English, German, Polish, Irish would be the big European groups, and then the other big group is Mexican. And African, it's weird in commercials, they're 13%, but in commercials, they're like 90%. So you're going to go tell those actors they're all fired, and we're going to fire more Europeans and Mexican actors. So these liberals are outraged about all this stuff, but they never look down the road to the future logical steps. What exactly do you want to have happen? Do you want fair treatment and representation, or do you want over-representation? That one thing they were talking about, Oscars so white, somebody looked through that, and they looked at the Oscars, and they go, no, you're at any time in history when Oscars were apportioned, if African was 13% of the population, they were getting like 13% of the Oscars. So they weren't like you want. Apparently, they're arguing for overrepresentation. But the thing is, very few people in Hollywood are going to actually confront them with facts. Because you got a lot of people in Hollywood who are in, I don't know, the social media sphere who are they're used to be listened to, and they're used to not being challenged on their ideas. So some, like, all it would take would be reporters say, no, actually the Oscars are 12.2% African, and at the time the population was 12% African. So it's there's not an issue. This is a non-story. It's like, you can't say that. Nobody in the media will say that because the media is not the media anymore. The media hasn't been the media for like 40 years. The thing is, I'm actually on team #darkskin because I want to accelerate everything until people wake up and just say like, oh, okay, this is not, whatever that we're doing here, we need to have a frank talk about all these issues and where we want to go from here. Is what we're doing, this present path, currently working? Should we separate into different tribes and different areas so there's no conflict or less conflict? I mean, admittedly, if you separate into your own areas, like, there's always going to be conflict no matter what, but at least it's not going to be, it'll be intra-tribal, not inter-tribal type of conflict. But, I mean, that's the next step. The next logical step is having that kind of conversation. This is probably way too base for YouTube. Because right now, different tribes are... But, hey, they monetized that last video yesterday, which I was surprised at. Right now, different tribes are advocating to advance their interests. But the logical conclusion is just separate into different areas where you're not going to have this specific conflict. So you want to have that conversation? Yeah, but not on YouTube. That is a Odyssey Discord, Odyssey Bit Chute place of conversation. You want to have this integrated society. Well, as a consequence, you're going to get this lady who is an example of what happens when an Englishman and a Nigerian meet. They're going to have kids, and you have someone who's, she's half English, half Nigerian. She's neither one tribe or the other. So what is she supposed to do? She's like probably feels she's a pretty good actor. She wants to act. She wants to play roles. Where is her space in Hollywood? Like most people would look at it, like most people, like they strawman the right so much, even the far right. But even a lot of people on the far right would look at it and be like, well, is this what the role calls for? And she's a bad example because in this specific case, she's not what the role calls for. It's supposed to be a European guy, according to the story. But say the role just called for a woman of a certain age. And she fit the role of a woman of a certain age, and it didn't specifically have to be European or African or any specific ethnic group. You're like, well, can she deliver the lines with authority? Do people buy her as a character? Do people believe it? Is the movie going to be successful because of her contribution to the film? And Hollywood is not, it shouldn't be taken seriously anyway. It's like, it's all bread and circuses popcorn. It's like, I'm saying merit. Can she get there on merit? For most movies, whatever dumb movie she's going to be in, it's like, it should be merit based. Can she get in there on merit? But people like, that's a far right position now to say like, oh yeah, the casting should be colorblind unless tribalism is a part of the role, which actually it kind of is here because it's based on a story. So you really should follow the artistic vision of the story. I mean, they're doing the same thing in Lord of the Rings, which is going to be an absolute train wreck. But other than that, it's like the far left goes, oh no, we need to swap everything. Well, why don't you just create something new? Because they're parasites and they can't create something new. This is rough to do for YouTube. So, I mean, she's in this position. She can't specifically play English because she's not ethnically English or she's not ethnically African. She's something in the middle. So you want like DNA tests for Hollywood actors? That's kind of it would be better to follow the artistic vision of the original creator, the writer who wrote the book that the movie is based on. Or here's a thought, just create your own film, create your own story. Hollywood has a rough time creating new stories because they start from an like a cultural Bolshevik standpoint, and it's like it's propaganda right from the start, which is why people look at the projects and nobody gets enthusiastic about it. If you have the guy who wrote the book, whoever wrote the book, he's got a series of successful books, and they say, oh, we're going to make this book into a movie, and it's a success, like, I don't know, Tom Sawyer, we're going to make it into a movie, and it's like, okay, well, you're familiar with Mark Twain, he's a really good writer, the story's solid. But then they remake and you're like, oh, it's a little Mexican girl who's playing Tom Sawyer. That doesn't make any sense. Where, if they start with a little Mexican story, it's like it's not going to sell to start with because it's not what people fell in love with. That's why they have to do the bait and switch. I think it's bait and switch is like people are kind of waking up to this. They're getting a little bit less on board with this kind of stuff. I don't know if this can go on. I don't even know why. I look at certain topics are just about impossible to cover on YouTube. Anyway, she's just a typical fart sniffing Hollywood liberal who's all up her own queef about she's not dark enough for some roles. And she is what she is. It's rough to defend her because it's like she shouldn't be in the role in the first place because she's supposed to be an Englishman, but it's like as long as she's going to be in the role, it's like, why are you apologizing for being too fair skinned? You're not in the role. You are what you are. If you can carry the role off with believability, with verisimilitude, the willing suspension of disbelief, can you pull off the role or not? That should be all that matters in a merit system. But we're not in a merit system. We're in this cultural Bolshevik system where you turn merit upside down, so you end up with a lot of shady movies. And to be fair, those movies are either underperforming or bombing, and you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. So even Hollywood's going to run out of money at some time, though it's going to be a while. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for the recent support channel. If you wish, join the Bit Chute, Odyssey, Discord, and Telegram. I'll see you guys all next episode.